All right, let's get the show on the road. Good evening, everyone. We are thrilled to have you joining us this evening to discuss the Brown Environmental Leadership Lab, or BELL, which is through Brown Pre-College Programs. My name is Dan Murphy. I work with the enrollment and marketing team here at Brown Pre-College, and I will be your MC for the evening, if you will. So tonight's agenda, I'm going to provide a very brief 1,000-foot level overview of Brown pre-college programs, how to apply, and then I will introduce our guest panelists this evening who will walk through the Bell program for you. Again, this evening's session is specific to our Bell program and not necessarily about all of pre-college programs. If you're here for pre-college in general, just know that we do have recordings on our website of the info session that happened last week that goes over Brown Pre-College as a whole. And then we'll end tonight's session with a Q&A. So the session this evening should last about 30 minutes or so, and it is being recorded. So if you want to come back and watch it, or you want to share it with anyone, it should be up and live on our website within the next week. We will also be emailing everyone in attendance this evening the video as well. And then there's also closed captioning available tonight for the webinar. It's the little button is a CC at the bottom of your screen. If you click that, you should be able to see closed captioning. So for your questions, throughout this presentation, please feel free to submit any and all questions that you have. There's a Q&A chat function below. We do have one of our program advisors with us this evening who will be trying to answer as many as she possibly can throughout the session. We'll also answer some of them live at the end. And we also did get all of your pre-submitted questions. So we'll try to answer as many questions as possible this evening. Just know that we probably won't be able to answer all of them, but we'll give you the information on how to reach out to us if you need to. And then lastly, I'd like to remind people all the information we're going over this evening is available on our website at precollege.brown.edu. Definitely you check that out. It is the most up-to-date information, our FAQ, and more information and videos as well. So a brief overview of the Brown Pre-College program. So each year we welcome more than 6,000 high school students. I believe last year was 6,300 who choose to spend part of their summer with us, exploring over 300 courses that reflect the open curriculum here at Brown University. Our program replicates that freedom and responsibility of the real college experience. So if you come, you'll balance the challenge of college-level academics with enriching social activities that are available wherever you choose to study. Tonight, though, we are going to specifically discuss our Bell programs, which we'll talk a little bit more in just a moment. Regardless of which program you're interested in, the first step of your pre-college experience is completing our application. Our application is designed to mirror the common application used by many colleges and universities, and that process will actually help prepare you for the college application process, including adding your transcripts and thinking through and crafting an essay based on a unique writing prompt. Our 2024 application just opened yesterday, and our deadline is May 10th to apply. We do rolling admission, so once that moment you apply, typically within 15 business days, you will hear a decision back from us. You can apply on our website by clicking apply at the top of the page of our website. There you'll also find our application checklist, which includes information such as our essay prompts, grade requirements, and everything else that you'll need to provide us with a complete application. And then specific to tonight's presentation for Bell, these are some Bell deadlines. And Jane, our panelist who's coming up shortly, will probably go a little bit more into these, but the application deadline for all of our Bell programs is Friday, March 8th. And then the enrollment deadline is Friday, March 22nd. And that's because we need to get all of this information for these programs, including dietary restrictions, all that in place pretty far in advance of the actual program happening. However, if you're interested in other programs as well, you may still apply to Brown Pre-College after these dates as well. So with that said, I am going to introduce and welcome Dr. Jane B. Winograd, who is our Associate Director for Pre-College Programs and Environmental Studies. And this evening, she'll be talking more about our Bell programs with you. So welcome, Jane.
Thank you, Dan. So it's really great to be here tonight. Thank you all for joining. It's such a great amount of people who joined us tonight from, I'm assuming, all over the place. So thank you. Again, my name is Jane Winograd. I've been at Brown since I was an instructor for the Bell program in 2014, and I returned as the program director starting in 2017. So I'm really excited to share more about the program that really changed my life and that I truly love so much. So yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk about some Bell 2024. So Bell actually started in 2002, so it is 22 years old this summer, and it started with Bell, Rhode Island. It's evolved a lot over the years, but it's always had the same foundational mission, which is to combine concepts in environmental studies, ecology, and leadership with a mission of developing socially responsible leaders. So the environmental component of Bell is obviously very important. Environmental studies is at the center of most lessons taught by our instructors and some of our guest speakers. And students at Bell programs will do some of their learning outside, as you see in some of our photos, to build a stronger connection to the environment. Now, the two L's in Bell are also a huge aspect of the program. The first L is leadership, which connects Bell with the Leadership Institute. It's another one of our programs at pre-college, and that's going to have its own info session as well. So leadership represents a huge portion of the curriculum at Bell, and both programs, Leadership Institute and Bell, highlight leadership principles and skills. And at Bell, students learn what it takes to be a change maker in the challenging political and ecological climate. The second L is for lab, which most people associate with imagery of scientists standing over a microscope wearing a white coat. And while that is one way to think about a lab, in the context of Bell, I hope you'll think about it as like-minded people coming together to learn together and from one another. And while a lab can is often a physical space, it can also be a community. And that's important to remember when thinking about what the day-to-day will be like at Bell. Students will be working together and learning together as a cohort and as a community. So for Bell 2024, we have some exciting offerings again. We're excited to be offering Bell Rhode Island and Alaska again. And a program that we ran for the first time last year was a huge success. So we're offering that one more time, not one more time, maybe forever, but we're offering it again for 2024 at Bell Eastern Sierras. So I'll start with Eastern Sierras. At this program, students will visit and study at some incredible ecosystems. Here you can see our students from last year toward the end of a hike. So the students this year will visit the Tufa Towers at Mono Lake, Devil's Postpile National Monument, and Convict Lake, which I believe is where this photo is taken. And they'll grow to better understand the causes and impacts of climate change and identify examples of environmental resilience. At Bell, Alaska, students will learn about the Alaskan experience, both from a native perspective and an ecological perspective. And they'll be visiting a few different ecosystems, including Matanuska Glacier, which is what's pictured here. So an important note about Bell, Alaska and Eastern Sierras, each of them have very limited capacities, making them some of the first programs to reach capacity and to move to waitlist. So if you're interested in either one of these first two programs that I've discussed, I encourage you to apply very early, starting tonight. The number of applications we have for Alaska has actually already exceeded the number of spots that we have available. So start thinking about second choices if Alaska was ultimately your first choice. Now moving into Bell, Rhode Island, which is the program I'm most excited to share with you tonight because we have so many updates for this year. So as I mentioned earlier, Bell, Rhode Island was the start of the Bell program. It's going to be 22 years old this summer. And last year we tried something new. We brought Bell, Rhode Island students to Brown's campus They stayed in a residence hall that was exclusive to Bell students and staff, and then participated in a number of exciting local site visits. So this year, we're going to keep the program at Brown's campus. And since there were so many benefits to that experience, we thought it would work out really well a second time to stay in the same location. And this will allow Bell students to have some engagement with the larger campus pre-college community. And not to mention, they're going to be able to use some of the campus facilities like the classrooms and a crowd favorite, the dining halls. So this year, the other update is that I've selected 3 courses to run at Bell, Rhode Island. So this is the first year we've ever offered students some choice in their academic experience at a Bell program. And students will ultimately choose from one of 3 courses, each with unique site visits and instructional staff. So you'll be able to read more about these in the course descriptions and the course catalog, but I wanted to share a little bit more about each of them. So at Digging into Food, an introduction to Rhode Island's food systems, students will learn from 2 staff members at Farm Fresh Rhode Island, which is a wonderful local nonprofit in Rhode Island, whose mission is to grow local food system that values the environment, health, and quality of life of both the farmers and the eaters in our region. Some of the highlights are the site visits. Students are going to be visiting 7 local organizations, including Matunic Oyster Farm, which is one of the leaders in sustainable fisheries on the planet. And the photo here is actually the students looking at baby oysters with the owner of the Matunic Oyster Farm. And right after that, they had a delicious meal at Matunic Oyster Bar, which is one of the nicest and most popular restaurants in Rhode Island. So lots of great highlights. And this course is really good for students who have an interest in community action and advocacy, sustainable food systems, sustainability in general, mitigating waste, or local socio-political issues. A really important note for this, and this will be a pro for some students and a con for others, is that this course does not include an overnight camping retreat, while the others at Bell, Rhode Island do. For some students, they may be excited to be able to take an environmental studies course without having to sleep outside. And for some students, they're really looking for the outside component. So just be aware this one is non-overnight camping retreat. In geological recent and modern climate change, students are taught by Dr. Blake Hodgen, an assistant professor in the Department of Earth, Environmental, and Planetary Science at Brown. Highlights include a trip to the Tamaqua Indigenous Museum, Block Island, which is Rhode Island. It's off the coast of Rhode Island, kind of at the very northern tip of where the New York Islands are, and Beavertail State Park. And this course is great for students who have an interest in sedimentary geology, field geology, geological history, climate history, and science communication. So my note for this course is that there is a camping retreat. There's a 2-night camping retreat at Round the Bend Farm, which is pictured here, which is near Dartmouth, Massachusetts. And for students who select this program, you really don't need any previous camping experience, but you should be excited to sleep in your own tent outside for 2 nights and also contribute to farm living, as you can see in this photo, during your stay. In marine ecosystems, coastal communities, and climate resilience, students will be taught by Sarah Loomis, who's a research associate in the Institute at Brown for Environment and Society. Highlights also include Block Island, which is pictured here. The students are casting a seine net, a very big one, as a group to capture some samples of wildlife off the coast of Block Island. So students will be participating in a couple different labs at Block Island, visit to the Tamaqua Indigenous Museum, and also the Port of Providence. This course is great for students who have an interest in marine science, coastal ecology, field biology, the study of climate change in coastal communities, and science communication. And the same note applies to this course. There's also a 2-night camping retreat. Just know that each of the 2 camping retreats, one for marine ecosystems and one for the geological course, they're separate. So one group will be going with their instructor during one 2-night camping retreat, and the other group will go at a different time with their instructor. So 3 different course options. I'm so excited. The good news is that Bell, Rhode Island also offers each of those 3 cohorts of students very similar experiences in many other ways. So one is that the students will all be working on an action plan project, which actually applies to all Bell programs. And the staff will be guiding students through the development of those plans. All of the Bell programs, including Bell Rhode Island, are cohort-based learning. So each group of 20 is going to be tight-knit, working together, learning together, spending a lot of time together. Bell Rhode Island students will also all participate in leadership development activities and stay in a residence hall together. So pictured here is Machado House, which is the beautiful mansion where all the Bell students and staff get to stay. And students will also participate in a separate check-in and orientation together. So they'll get to be together as 3 groups of 20 students quite often. But they'll each have a dedicated staff dedicated to that group of 20. And they'll all have a similar schedule, but it'll be a little bit different in terms of the academic content. So I did, because it's new, I wanted to walk you through what it's like to select a Bell Rhode Island course. It's no different than any of our other enrollment practices. So if you're accepted to Brown Pre-College and you meet our age requirement for Bell, you can log into your student portal and click on course catalog, then use the filters on the course catalog and, very straightforward, select Bell Rhode Island. And once you select Bell Rhode Island, you're actually going to see those 3 courses that I just reviewed with you. And you can read through the course descriptions in detail, maybe read the details and see what speaks to you, and then select your course by selecting Enroll Now. And then if there's space, you'll be able to enroll, and if there's not, you may be waitlisted. So keep that in mind for when you go through the process. For Bell Eastern Sierras and Bell Alaska, it's really straightforward because there's only 1 course per program. So I just wanted to go back a little bit and talk about Bell overall. This applies to all of the Bell programs. They all have a lot in common, and most of it is really great, but it also makes Bell very unique from some of the other pre-college offerings. So students and staff at Bell have very full schedules. Each program is different and each day is a little bit different. So while we do have a set schedule that includes 3 meals per day, rest time between lessons, and even solo time, which is our way of giving staff and students some time to themselves, there is a lot going on every day. And some of those days are a combination of field trips and on-site lessons, and others take the students away from their lodging site for an entire day, or even in some locations, overnight trips. So those overnight trips occur in Bell, Alaska, and 2 of the Bell Rhode Island courses, and they go on overnight trips to different locations. So just to note, those retreats are usually more rustic than the rest of the housing. So while students typically stay in a residence hall or at a field station, over camping retreats, they're either in tents or yurts. But just know everyone will always have access to their own private bathroom. They'll always have access to their own sleeping space, but they are more rustic. Another thing that makes Bell very special and can be challenging and also very rewarding is that during the entire program, we ask students to set down their electronic devices. So I've seen this have a really positive impact on the students over the summer, and it really helps build a strong community. So we continue to enforce this, but we also ask for students to kind of help us develop a cell phone plan that works well for them as a group. And then the last thing I just want to make sure everyone knows is that with our full schedule, we sometimes have weather, availability, COVID restrictions, things that come up that may lead to a last minute cancellation or change. So if that happens, we always try to replace the field trip with something as close to it as possible. But just to note that we have all these plans, and then a hurricane comes through, or we have all these plans and a guest speaker isn't available, and things happen, and we do our best to reschedule while really prioritizing the safety of the students. So lastly, I just wanted to share a little bit about what types of students find Bell enjoyable and who really is drawn to the Bell programs. So we look for students who are inquisitive, mature, passionate about something, and willing to hear others' perspectives, excited about environmental studies, even if they have no experience in it, and their own leadership development, just excited to develop as a leader. Excited to learn in a cohort, meaning they will spend all day, every day, building relationships with other students who may have a lot in common with them, but also come from different perspectives. Excited to try new things, including foods and activities, both socially and academically. Excited to learn in non-traditional settings and in non-traditional ways. And that may include a lot of student-led discussions and exploratory activities and labs. and open to living in close quarters. It is a beautiful thing, and it can also be challenging for some students. And like I said earlier, all students will have access to their own bed, access to a private bathroom that they can use. The Bell students will often find themselves sharing space for most of the day. So that means that students are in close proximity to each other on buses, in classrooms, or in community spaces. And they may also sleep in a room later that night with up to 4 roommates, or in a yurt with up to 7 roommates. So we just ask that people are willing to embrace those close quarters and be willing to spend time with a lot of people in a close-knit community.
Great. Thank you so much, Jane. So we're going to transition over to our Q&A section. So I know we've seen some questions coming in as the presentation was going on. So if you have any additional questions, feel free to add them below. We also have pre-submitted questions that we'll probably start off with. I saw a few questions come in that had general themes, so I'll address this one first, which was, do you have to apply to each of them separately? Are you applying to Bell versus Brown Pre-College? And I think that's a great question. So when you apply, you're applying to Brown Pre-College as a whole. So it's kind of like the umbrella. And then once admitted, if you're admitted, you would then go in and enroll in a course in any of those programs you're interested in. So if, for example, if you're interested in one of the Bell Rhode Island courses, if it's available, you'd go back to the course catalog, you would select it, and then you would enroll in that. So you don't have to necessarily, you're not applying to each of these separate programs. You're just applying once, and then you can choose from there. For example, if you apply and you have your heart set on Bell, but then you change your mind, you're like, actually, I would love to take a non-Bell course, you would be able to do that as well. So you don't have to like reapply. So let's see. Jane, we did get a pre-submitted question of, can you tell us how many students are in each program?
Sure. Yeah, so Bell Rhode Island has 3 courses, each with a capacity of 20. Bell Alaska has a capacity of 24 total, and Bell Eastern Sierras has a capacity of 20. So that is those last 2 programs. The reason why they fill so quickly is because of the size. I would also love to say that it's because of their enormous popularity, but that feels like tooting my own horn. They are very popular. So again, because of the small cohort and popularity. And I can also speak to what being full means. The programs are not full today. We just opened our application yesterday, but thankfully we're seeing a lot of activity, and we're seeing a lot of students apply specifically for Bell Alaska. And of course, we don't know what those applications look like, if those students are very serious about actually enrolling in the program, if they get accepted. So there's a lot of unknowns, but what we're seeing is an obscene amount of interest, to the point where the number of people who are interested in the program have already exceeded the number of spots that we have. So it's really just me trying to manage expectations to say, I love the interest. I would be so excited if every single person here could ultimately go to Bell Alaska, but it's not realistic. And this year we have even more interest than I've seen in the other years that I've worked in this program.
Yeah, yeah. So can you talk a little bit, like what happens if a program fills? Are people waitlisted? Could they enroll in a different Bell program?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that we always suggest to people, if there is not a space in your first program of choice, and I'll say, let's say that's Bell, but it could also be another program that you learn about from another info session later on this year. If you don't get into that first program, you do have the option to join the waitlist if there's still room on the waitlist. And we do allow people off the waitlist. In Bell, it's only up to March 22nd, which happens to be my birthday. So everyone should remember that. But the March 22nd deadline is the last day that we will allow students to enroll in the Bell Rhode Island program to get on our waitlist. And then we work through that waitlist if we do have students who need to leave the program. So first option, hop on the waitlist if there's room. Second option, and these are not in any particular order, look at the other program options and the other courses. There's so many good courses, including a huge selection of environmental studies courses that happen at Brown University. So some of those actually partner with local nonprofit organizations. Some of them are taught by Brown faculty, Brown graduate students. So you may actually find that there's something really great on campus as well. And those courses will also potentially include the Bell Rhode Island courses, which are no less popular than the other Bell programs. But as I said, there's 3 course options. So with 60 seats, there's a little more of a lag in when those courses fill. So I would say if Rhode Island isn't at the top of your list already because of all the awesome things I shared tonight, definitely consider it because it's one of the Bell program that fills up last because of the size.
Yeah, great. Jane, I think we can split the answer to this question. I'll take the first half and I'll let you take the other half. So we're seeing a lot of questions about program costs, scholarships, but then also like what is covered by that cost. So I'll start off with program costs and things. So program costs, if you head to our website, you click on costs and aid at the very top, you'll find the answer to first half of this question. You'll be able to look up the Bell courses and programs and see the individual costs for there. You'll also be able to see our financial aid scholarship opportunities as well. The scholarships that we do have are, if you are enrolled in a Providence public school, if your family member works for Brown, and then we also have the Sibley Scholarship, which is more of a traditional scholarship when you think about schools and financial aid. Something important about that one is that that is first come, first serve. And so if that is something that you are interested in utilizing, you can apply, once you submit an application to Brown Pre-College, you can then start an application for that Sibley Scholarship as well. You don't need to wait for a decision from us for that as well. And so Jane, this is where I think you can come in, because I think this goes into two, is like, what is covered by the cost slash, I know we've gotten questions about supplies and gear provided for our participants. So
yeah, this is a great question. So as far as the actual on the ground, what we cover, the Bell programs, along with all of the other offsite programs, include everything from when you arrive during the arrival window to when you depart during the departure window. So the flight is not included. We have staff meet students at the airport for Alaska and Eastern Sierras and at the residence hall for Bell Rhode Island. So you'll get, any accepted students get way more information than maybe you will ever need, including a detailed description of arrival day and departure day, including where to meet, when to meet, who you're going to be meeting, everything in detail. And then that enrolled student information also includes a packing list, and that list helps you delineate what's provided by the program versus what you need to bring. So you should know there are a lot of programs that require you to bring linens. So that may just be a sheet and a blanket and a pillow. We also are big on trying to lighten our load in the Bell program. So there's always going to be recommendations about how to reduce the amount of items that you're bringing with you. So we may say, bring a pillow or bring a t-shirt and stuff other clothes in the t-shirt to make a pillow. So you'll see some creative things on the packing list. As far as really niche gear, you will not need things like crampons or spikes for your shoes or a helmet to hike a glacier. You won't need that. That's going to be provided on site. You won't need scientific equipment to do any of the laboratory exercises. And you won't need a tent because, we don't want you to travel with a bulky tent. And we provide those for students when needed. And you definitely won't need food. You can certainly choose to bring your own snacks, but we provide 3 meals a day, snacks, and then some to all of our students and staff. And yeah, all of your basic needs from my perspective are met during the Bell programs.
great, yeah, thank you. Jane, we're seeing some questions about allergies, dietary restrictions. So is it possible to accommodate food allergies and dietary restrictions in all of these locations?
Yeah, for the most part, we are able to make the same or very similar accommodations to what Brown University offers. Brown University is really way ahead of the game in terms of dietary accommodations. They even opened a kosher and halal kitchen this year. So Brown University as an institution is so committed to meeting dietary needs. That said, we do try to mimic it as best we can, but in some locations we're cooking our own food, or the food is being provided by a very remote location. So it's not always possible to meet every dietary need, but we have in the past had students join who have very serious food allergies, who choose to eat no meat or eat all meat. We've had people with very different diets attend programs and be fed and well during the time that they're with us. We always have the students at the Bell programs fill out the Bell dietary support form. And it's an extra form on top of all the other ones, but that's because we need to know down to like the tiniest pea what you will and will not eat so that we can order the correct food.
Great. Some questions about, I think we talked a little bit about like research and experimentation and things like that. So are there qualifications required, prior experience? Like, should students have already conducted research studies?
Yeah. Another great question, and one that comes up a lot because we have the action plan as part of our program. So first, you don't need any prior experience with developing your own research project or action plan for local advocacy. You don't need that prior experience. What you do need is excitement and eagerness to participate in that. So if you've never done field work before and you've never gone on a hike to a rock formation to go study those rocks and make observations about it, that's totally fine. Most of us haven't done that, especially when we were in high school. So if you haven't done it, that's totally fine. We do ask that students are excited about these things, like excited to be on a ferry boat to go to Block Island, excited to work on a farm, excited to visit Alaska. If you feel like you've never done it before and that creates a little nervousness or a little bit of doubt, that's totally normal. But the reason that the staff are there is because they want to guide you through these experiences and help you learn what it's like to be a field scientist, or what it's like to be a science communicator, what it's like to work for a nonprofit organization, so that you can apply these skills to some of the decisions you make when it comes to college.
Great. And then I just want to be mindful of time. So this might be our last question, but this was actually a pre-submitted question that I have seen come up a little bit in some of the questions coming in now. But could you talk a little bit more about instructors, lecturers?
Yeah.
Are they generally available? Who are they? Any information about them?
Yeah, well, most of our instructors have either been working with Bell for 5+ years, or they are Brown faculty or graduate students. So we have a lot of really wonderful educators working for the Bell programs. They are very available to the point where they'll stay and eat meals with the students. During the overnight camping retreats, they're with the students. So students have a lot of access to the instructors and have a lot of opportunities for informal discussions, for follow-up conversations from things that happen in lab. And instructors will even offer, for students to hike with them to the next location if they have a lot of questions, or sit with them at lunch if they have a lot of questions. And yeah, the instructors at Bell kind of are a part of the community. So even though the on-site director, on-site coordinator, and the rest of the residential staff are really who are there 24/7 with the students, the instructors are ever present, and they're really excited to get to know the students, help answer questions, and then guide them through some of the outside of class work, like the action plan development.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So that's all the time we have for questions. I will give out our information so that if anyone has any follow-up questions or any questions that we weren't able to get to, definitely reach out to us and we'll get back to you ASAP. I do want to highlight our upcoming information sessions. So I think I saw someone in there is like, I just realized Bell is not for me. I don't know, it's not the program for me, but I'm interested in other STEM topics, and if we have anything, great question. So these are our upcoming information sessions, and so if you're interested in STEM or any of these, definitely attend one. We'll go more into depth about each of these. For example, we do have one on February 8th. Specifically on our STEM and course-based research experiences. So these are upcoming. You can register on our website. And then again, we got so many questions. We tried to answer as many as we could. Just time didn't permit to answer all of them. And so if you have any follow-up questions, definitely send us an email at precollege@brown.edu or give us a call during our business hours. We have an amazing team of program advisors, again, one of which has been here with us answering questions as they've been coming in as well. They're the encyclopedias of our department. They know the ins and outs of so many things of our courses, payments, you name it, they can help you. And I think we pride ourselves in that when you call, you will reach an actual human being. So reach out and they can help you. And that can be just of how do I do something versus I'm really interested in X, Y, and Z and my top choice for a course is no longer available, what would you recommend? They can help guide you through those things. And then finally, follow us on social media at Brown Pre-College. Highly recommend if you want to see student perspectives, videos, photos from students throughout the summer, from last summer to see what that student experience is like. So thank you again for taking time to spend part of your day with us. We hope you're excited about the Bell program and about Brown Pre-College. And again, reach out if you have any other follow-up questions. And thank you, Jane, as well, for spending some of your evening with us to talk about Bell.
Thank you. And thank all of you for being here tonight.
Yeah, so have a good night.